Hello 10th grade, Mr. Lassiter with you, and today we're going to be doing the trial preparation for our Lab and Law Flex Day for Fall 2014. Our goal for this video is to make sure that you're prepared for the second half of the day where you will be participating in a trial to put your peers on trial for our chosen crime. This is brought to you today by Bob Loblaw's Law Blog. Lobbing law bombs daily. So take a look at some of these goals. Pause the videos if you need to. But mainly, by the end of this video and by the end of our lesson, we want you to have a basic understanding of criminal trial proceedings. On the Flex Day, we're going to be thinking about appropriate roles for scientific technology and human judgment in bringing charges against the defendant, and how our court system functions in the context of bringing criminal charges against a defendant. So take a look at our trial objectives as well, and let's get going. First, we're going to talk about the structure of the day. First thing in the morning, we want you to be on time. You're going to report to your first period for attendance. You will then report to assigned lab classrooms. So you will get a sticker that you will wear with your name on it and where you should be throughout the day, including your roles. You will then, in the morning, conduct your lab activities, and after you've completed that section, you will be assigned a role classroom where you will engage in a working lunch. So you will be eating, but you will also be working while you're eating, and we'll have people working with you to make sure that you fully understand your roles, and you will go over them before the trial. In the afternoon, we have the trials themselves, jury deliberations and media reports, and finally verdicts at the end of the day with a debrief. So who does what in this trial? Let's think about this, because you will be assigned one of these roles. Well, first of all, let's talk about the judge. They oversee the trial, they give instructions, and they rule on matters of law. We're going to talk about this a little later, especially with objections. The judge is the person who makes sure everything is going to run according to the law. The bailiff swears in the jury and witnesses. This is the muscle in the courtroom. They take care of anything. I'm sure we've all seen Judge Judy, and we know what the bailiff is responsible for. The jury, you will watch, take notes on the trial, and you're responsible for actually reaching that verdict. You are the peers of the person on trial, and therefore you will reach the decision based on the evidence in the case. The prosecutor is responsible for proving the state's case against a defendant beyond a reasonable doubt. So that's key. We should know by now that a defendant is innocent until proven guilty. It is the state's job to prove guilt, not the defendant's job to prove innocence. That brings in our defense attorney. He's responsible for showing that doubt exists, and therefore the defendant is not guilty. Our defendant is the person on trial, accused of whatever crime it is, and remember, again, they are innocent until proven guilty. And our last role are our witnesses. They tell the truth, they answer to the prosecutor or defense attorney's questions. We'll have a few more roles involved in this, including court sketch artists, photographers, and our media correspondents. And we can talk about those roles in class. So let's talk about the order of our trial. The opening of the trial begins with the judge entering the courtroom and then the jury being sworn in. The judge will give instructions to the court and the jury, and the prosecution will then open up with their opening statement. The defense will then have their opening statement. And we'll see this again and again. Prosecution goes and then defense goes, because if the prosecution does not prove that the case beyond a reasonable doubt, the defense could rest immediately. And in our trial, because the victim will not be present, we will have a victim's video deposition before the prosecution's case. So the cases themselves, the prosecution will call their witnesses. They will use direct examination, and then the defense will cross-examine the witness or ask their own questions of the prosecution's witnesses. These will include expert witnesses. The defense, once the prosecution rests, the defense has a chance to call its witnesses, and they examine their witnesses, followed by the prosecution getting to cross-examine them or go up and ask them questions. We'll see character witnesses and even a fan witness in this case. And even though the defendant is not required to testify, and they can actually refuse to testify, in this case we will have the defendant testify. This is followed up with our closing of the trial. So the judge will give instructions to the jury and the court, and the prosecution will begin with their closing statement. Again, the prosecution going first, followed by the defense's closing statement. The judge gives final instructions to the jury to disregard certain evidence or testimony, or to keep in mind certain evidence and testimony. So those are special instructions for the jury before they deliberate and reach their verdict. While the jury is deliberating, the rest of us will be watching some of the products of the media. At the end of the day, we're going to be in a whole group where we will hear verdicts. So that was the mock trial procedure. Let's talk about the rules for our mock trial. First of all, we know this is not an actual trial, so we have to go by a specific set of rules in order to make this as realistic as possible. So rule number one, the stipulated facts may not be disputed at trial. So the facts that we give you for the case are those facts. 100% what happened, we can't argue them. Additionally, the judge and the jury cannot consider these facts unless the proper witness is given the evidence. So if you fail to ask a certain question, then the judge and the jury will not hear all of these facts. Second, each witness is bound by the facts in the given witness statements. So if you are a witness and you have a statement, you cannot make stuff up to make the person seem more or less guilty. You must be bound by the facts that you've been given. All witnesses must be called to the stand in this mock trial. You can't not call one of our witnesses. We're going to make sure everybody gets involved. And lastly, all participants are expected to display courtroom decorum and good sportsperson-like conduct. So basically, following the rules of the court, standing when you're supposed to stand, saying what needs to be said, and also understanding that even if your side loses, be a good sport, have some fun with this. The rulings of the judge and jury are final. Of course, our lawyers are definitely going to want to object at some time, but we do have rules. There are elaborate rules which are used to regulate the court and to make sure both parties receive a fair hearing. And the lawyers and the judges are responsible for enforcing these rules. But let's say the prosecutor says something he shouldn't. It's not the judge's job to tell him he shouldn't. It's the defendant's job, or the defense attorney's job, to say that they object to what was said and have the lawyer enforce the rule. So they make these objections to evidence or procedure, and then they must explain why they object. And then the judge will then sustain or overrule those objections. And there are a lot of different things you can object to. In this court case, we're going to have about 7 different rules associated with this, including leading questions, narration, relevant or irrelevant things, hearsay, opinions being given rather than facts, and then things that are outside the scope of the case. If you are one of the lawyers, you will get a cheat sheet for this, for the rules of evidence, so that you know when to object and what you can object to. So that's it, guys. That's the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Good luck on Flex Day. The remainder of class will spend discussing some of this and looking at a mock trial case. So hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got all the notes written down. And if you have any questions, be sure to ask your teacher. Have a wonderful day.